Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, and the video is clear?
Video is clear. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Participants, could you please send a thumbs up if you can hear me and watch me? Okay, cool. A very good morning and welcome to ACBM Global Mentor Academy's Indian and Global Finance Symposium. I am Yash Babrekar, Global Ambassador at ACBM Global Mentor Academy. I would be moderating today's session and taking all your questions and doubts to our guests. The subject of discussion today is CISI, the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment. It is the leading professional body for securities, investment, wealth, and financial planning professionals. Formed in 1992 by London Stock Exchange practitioners, they have a global community of 45,000 members in over 100 countries. This session is truly a special one as we have two experts from CISI, one of them being the country head of Chartered Institutes of Securities and Investment with expertise in financial services, Mr. Jasneet Bindra sir. He has an extensive experience in the field of financial services and would bring to you the advice you need in your career and solve all your doubts with his detailed knowledge of the subject. Joining him is the enterprise sales leader at Amazon Web Services, Mr. Sriram Sri Kannan. Being a venture capitalist and sales and solutions leader in a company like IBM, he has a plethora of experience. He champions various skills like financial services, right from futuristic technologies like Bitcoin, blockchain, fintech, and many more. I welcome both of you to our finance symposium.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
It's a
Yash.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay. So the first question would be to you, Jasneet, sir. Let's start with the basics and tell our viewers what CISI really is and a little bit of nitty-gritty in that.
Sure. I think you've already given a nice introduction about CISI. Well, basically, we are a royal chartered body from the UK. We were formed by the members of London Stock Exchange in the year 1992. And predominantly, we were formed
Mhm.
to offer certification and qualifications in the space of financial services. In the earlier years, till about 2000, we were more like a UK body. But post 2000, we
Okay.
started becoming more global. And we, in fact, when we started, we were called as SII, Security and Investment Institute. It was the year 2009 October when we got the
Mhm.
royal charter from the UK Parliament and the Queen herself, and we are a proper certified chartered body, and that's why we changed our name from
Wow. Okay.
SI to CISI, which is Chartered Institute for Security Investments. Predominantly, what we do is we offer
Okay.
qualification to practitioners who are working in the financial services space. And at the same time, in the last couple of years, we have seen a huge spike in students who want to
Mhm.
be, working in the investment banking or financial services world. And we
Mhm.
started something called as capacity building initiatives, where a lot of corporate clients that we work with wanted us to reach out to colleges and
Mhm.
universities and offer our curriculum to the students. And
Mhm.
that's where today, as we speak, we are working with a lot of colleges and universities in India. If I give you some global stats,
Okay.
all over the world, we have about 20,000 students every year who enroll for our qualifications, out of which 45,000 of them are
Okay.
corporates, right? So that's a bit about CISI
Wow.
and what we do.
Okay, that's great. And so there were a little questions about the same thing. So the viewers would like to know what the different courses are inside CISI. Then why should one opt for CISI, the membership benefits, and a little more.
Sure. So CSI basically covers each and every area of financial services, leaving aside insurance. So how we have put in our qualification is we have a front office qualification, we have a middle office, a back office, right? So people who are interested in front office,
Okay.
predominantly your wealth management and client facing roles, we have a wealth management qualification,
Hmm.
which incidentally has got recognition from SEBI as well in India and apart from that,
Oh,
about
great.
regulators all over the world. And then, if you are keen on working in the middle office, then we have something on risk in financial services, which again has got
Hmm.
a huge amount of recognition from IIBF, which is the Indian Institute of Banking and Finance. And a lot of people are working now
Okay.
in ITES, which we call as the IT enabled services or investment banking operations, for which
Okay.
we have something called
Hmm.
as the investment operations certificate, which, if you ask me personally, is the biggest winner for us in India, because you must be aware a lot of
Okay.
global banks have set up their captives in India, which have come in places like Bangalore or
Yes.
Gurgaon,
Correct.
Pune, Hyderabad, and a lot
Hmm.
of them
Hmm, hmm.
require
Yes.
people with knowledge of something like an asset servicing or a security ops or reconciliation settlement. So that particular module offers
Yes.
something on the investment banking operation side. So we are a modular qualification. We don't offer everything. We let the audience choose which qualification they want to enroll for, and basis that we offer them that particular module.
Okay.
So qualifications accordingly.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So right now, sir, when you were talking about the IT enabled services, this would be the question to Sriram, sir. Can you please give us a little more about what investment banking industry is and what are IT enabled services?
Sure. Good evening to everyone attending this webinar, and thank you to CISI and ACBM for hosting this jointly. Am I audible, Yash?
Yes, sir, you are. Yes.
Excellent. So I think investment banking is a very familiar term. It's a very glamorous word. Depends on from which side of the world you look at it. Globally,
Yeah.
it has been it has taken several avatars like merchant banking and all of that. But more recently, let me
Yeah.
put in the context with respect to uh, the subject in focus here, which is investment banking operations, because investment banking and
Yeah.
investment banks covers a gamut of things that includes the traditional merchant banking, mergers,
Hmm.
advisory, trading, operations, risk, securities. It just includes corporate finance, advisory, sales and trading, all of that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's like Jasneet said, alluding to Jasneet's point, it has a combination of front office, middle office, back office. And it also has research,
Okay.
like equity research, buy side research, sell side research, all of that. But I'm not going to digress, and I'm going to stay well in course for the subject or topic under discussion today, which is investment banking operations, that predominantly covers your middle to back office operations or activities that will include
Okay.
settlement, clearing, trading operations, risk management operations,
Hmm.
asset liability management operations, and all of the operations and technology pieces that go together, that work in tandem in delivering solutions to banks'
Okay.
clients. So a clear case in point is in India. Over the years, we have seen many of these large investment banks have set up their technology and
Hmm.
operations units across our country. Hyderabad, you have UBS. In Bangalore, which is probably the capital, you have companies like
Hmm.
Wells Fargo, Society General, Deutsche Bank. So many
Yeah.
investment banks have set up captives here. Fidelity, for example, State Street Global Advisors in Pune. You have Credit Suisse, you have Deutsche Bank, and in Bombay you have all of the sales and trading operations as well
Hmm.
happening out of all these large investment banks. You have custodial services, depository participants,
Hmm.
custodial services like your State Street Global Advisors and Fidelity and all of that.
Hmm.
So, what? So this is a very broad subject. It's a very broad domain,
Hmm.
and CISI has brought in a lot of focus through its offerings, course offerings,
Hmm.
of which I have passed a couple of exams myself. So not just coming from the
Okay.
industry, but I myself, I'm an MCSI. I've taken up more than 5 certifications
Okay.
with CISI. I passed the IOC myself. I've passed the Morphe exams, the operations risk exams myself. So and I'm not here to sell CISI's course anyways, because they're doing a good job of that globally.
Hmm.
But the fact of the
Yeah.
matter is that students are well equipped. There is a sound training that goes behind these courses around investment banking operations, and it is important for students to understand that if you want to really have a foot in the door of any investment bank covering technology and operational areas,
Hmm.
I think these certifications provide
Hmm.
that pedestal with a good amount of rigor, which
Okay.
is industry accredited, globally accredited,
Hmm.
and best in class, to actually pave way and get yourself an entry or a foot in the door into any of these technology and
Hmm.
operational roles.
Okay. Okay. Sir, as we were first speaking about CISI and now you briefed us about investment banking operations, the next question would be, sir, how can CISI certification help one into getting into investment banking operations? Like, is there a network which is involved, or what exactly are the courses about?
Is that question to me, Yash?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Thanks for that question, Yash. So firstly, I think Sriram has briefly put, what the investment banking operations world is all about. I think
Hmm.
one thing that, we have to be very candid and open about is, we all have done, our college and our, studies from, from India, and, the education system in India
Yeah.
is really well laid out, but somewhere it lacks the real time knowledge,
Hmm.
and it lacks the practicality.
Correct.
We get into specializations
Correct.
only after 10 standard. Like for example, banking as a
Yes.
subject, is taught to us not in the class in the 8th, 9th, or 10th. It comes only, once you choose a commerce stream or a science stream, or some other stream. So
Hmm.
we somewhere down the line lack specialization. Uh, what CSI does is, now all these companies which Sriram mentioned about, all of them are doing investment
Yeah.
banking applications in India. Are It's something, if you go to any university, it will not cover the curriculum, right? For example, they'll not talk about reconciliation. They will
Yeah.
not talk about, a settlement of a security, the trade life cycle. Now, this is something which the
Hmm.
industry is looking for. And this is what we have tried to
Okay.
incorporate in our certifications, because the modules that CISI has to offer are prepared by the practitioners themselves. So people who are working in the
Okay.
industry,
Okay.
right? They are the ones who are the
Hmm.
authors for our workbooks, and these books are prepared and they're given to students to study from. So what they are studying, in short, is real time, something which is happening,
Hmm.
moment. So this basically gives them the flavor of what the ITES and the investment banking operating world is all about. So automatically,
Yeah.
the firms that work with, who are clients with CISI, who are already taking up the qualification for their
Hmm.
own staff, give first preference to students who already done this, right? So, for example, Yash, if you walk into my office and I am an
Hmm.
investment bank, and you have a qualification
Okay.
of, let's say, an MBA or a graduation from a Mumbai University,
Okay.
or a Pune University, and on top of that, you
Hmm.
have something which is a technical knowledge from CISI on the investment banking world.
Hmm.
Automatically, you do
Hmm.
stand a chance, or a better chance of getting placed, right? So we,
Okay.
in a
Okay.
way, are facilitating students who wish to work in this vast industry. We are offering them the
Hmm.
real time knowledge,
Hmm.
and the courses that we have
Hmm.
basically help them make a way into this industry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. There's one more further question about this. Do you have anything more to show about CISI to our audience? On screen, is
Sure,
there anything?
sure. If I can have the screen shared, we have a slide which talks about the global clients that we have. So if you can move on to the next slide.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, can next slide. Yeah, there's a slide after this. Yeah, so this talks about the global
Okay.
regulatory recognitions which CISI has globally. Now, when I talk about global regulatory
Hmm.
recognition, that means regulators have recognized CISI exams in their jurisdiction, right? So as you see over
Hmm.
there,
Yeah.
we cover European markets, we cover Southeast Asia market, we cover UK, US.
Hmm.
At the same time, we have a good
Hmm.
presence in Middle East. and in the Asia Pac region as well. So,
Hmm.
it's like a global passport. So anyone who is keen, who take up these modules,
Hmm.
don't only end up with an
Hmm.
opportunity in India, but they do end up with an opportunity working
But
globally
also,
as well. Yes, that's
yeah.
correct.
Okay.
And if you can just move on to the slides after that, it will show the corporates that we work with. So overall, we have more than
Oh, great.
hundreds of corporate supporters that CISI works with globally. Now, these are the who's of the
Hmm.
investment banking world. If you see the names like Deutsche,
Yeah,
Barclays,
exactly. Yeah.
Goldman, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse.
Hmm.
These are all our clients whom we work with. They themselves, for their own employees, whether they're working in the back office or the risk and
Yeah.
compliance vertical, are taking up CSI modules for their own employees. At the same time, they're giving preference to
Hmm.
students, universities, and colleges
Hmm.
who've already done CSI exams as part of
Hmm.
their learning. Yeah,
Okay, great. Great. So now the question which arises into my mind is, now I'm very interested in this, as you both of you have told me a lot of information about it. Now, given my condition, I did my 12th science from the science stream, and then
yeah.
later switched to commerce. So, sir, what stream candidates should actually go for IB Ops in the investment banking and operations? The question is to Sriram, sir. Could you please explain a little more about this?
Sure. So many of these banks hire candidates who come from both science and liberal arts stream, and each of these
Hmm.
candidates bring with them a certain set of traits, attributes, features, and skills. Right? CISI
Hmm.
is a level
Yeah.
playing place for candidates from different streams coming into a common globally accredited course and then blending all of it together
Okay.
so that the educational experience that you have can be put to good
Hmm.
use through this additional certification or accreditation, which is globally recognized. Now, you may think that
Okay.
people with science backgrounds have a slight tilt towards quantitative things and techniques, and people with
Yeah. Hmm.
commerce background may not be as astute in quantitative reasoning and the ability to do math as much or as good as science stream or engineering stream grads, right? Well, that is true
Hmm.
to a certain extent, but let me assure you that the roles
Okay.
of the roles that these candidates will usually fit in are not necessarily quant heavy. They could be regulatory heavy, they could be compliance heavy, they
Hmm.
could be ops heavy, operations
Hmm.
heavy, but not necessarily quant.
Okay.
Because in the context of an
Okay.
investment bank, usually the quantitative skills are applied in front office, which includes trading, and also it includes normal trading and algorithmic trading, where a good knowledge of coding in Python and Ruby on Rails and other computer science
Yeah.
skills are
Yeah.
essential. With the CISI qualification,
Okay.
the coverage is more in the areas of middle to back office, where
Hmm.
a decent ability and an inclination towards quant is appreciated, but is not mandatory or essential. So CISI, if you look at the
Okay.
advanced courses of CISI, they are quite quantitative in nature too.
Hmm.
CISI brings
Okay.
a very good balance between application of quantitative techniques in papers, in subjects, in domains where it is required,
Hmm.
also
Hmm.
application of regulatory and compliance knowledge, body of knowledge, in areas where it is required,
Hmm.
because the typical candidate has a broad spectrum of divisions or departments or functions to join within a bank, right? So that's where CISI
Yeah.
caters to.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for this answer. There's one extension of this, as you spoke about the skills which are required and all the skills which are blended together when you go for a CISI specialization. The question is, sir, what are the pre-skills, the basic pre-skills which should be required for one to perform well in an interview for investment banking and not the job role specifically? Like, are skills like MS Excel and PowerPoint mandatory?
Right. So, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir, you are.
So I think the skills required depends on the role. There is no one size fits all role. If you were to
Okay.
interview for a quant position, then you must be heavily tilted towards a master's degree in computer science and mathematics with
Okay.
domain knowledge. If you are heavily tilted towards regulatory and operations role, you must have very good orientation in subjects related to risk, compliance, governance, all of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So CISI
Okay.
specifically, if you see, deals with a broad spectrum of domains and subdomains within the gamuts of a bank, and where candidates will find
Hmm.
themselves to be very relevant, having taken these certifications and accreditations, which are gold standard, which are
Hmm.
benchmarks. And there is also a
Hmm.
CPD, right? I mean, CISI offers the concept of a CPD. We are all professionals. All of us are professionals. All of us are learning and
Okay.
should and must learn in our day to day lives. So there is a mandatory CPD, which is called
Yes.
continuing professional development, that also, as a practitioner,
Okay.
enables you to pick up those skills. How I see it, I take my CPD, and I have, as a member of the institute, I am subject to CPD guidelines, CPD regulations. I have to submit my CPD reports that
Okay.
get randomly verified and audited and checked and supervised. Now, what happens is that there are a whole number of body of knowledges around us, right? For example, you look at new emerging
Hmm.
areas like IoT, blockchain, fintech, high
Yeah.
frequency trading,
Yeah.
algorithmic trading. There's so many new things that come up as bodies of knowledge, for which a
Hmm.
proper syllabus, a proper structure, a proper learning outcomes is still under the works, because these are subjects which are new
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
nature, which are newly evolving. However, a global body like
Yes.
CISI has already started offering those subjects in bite sized consumable content in the form of CPD, which means that in
Okay.
addition to your certifications that you do as part of a regular course, for example, if you're taking a risk in financial services course or an investment operations certification that is bundled into
Hmm.
2 3 courses, or if you're taking any
Hmm.
course on corporate finance, you will learn the
Hmm.
latest. There is no question about it, but the latest need not be the most trending ones, right? The most trending ones today are around hyperledger,
Yeah. Correct.
blockchain, IoT. So what CISI does is
Correct.
it has CPD refreshers, which are maybe a
Hmm.
45-minute video, 1 hour video, which is
Hmm.
consumable on demand from the portal. And I take a look at all of
Okay.
that. I consume those contents, and there are different formats of those
Okay.
contents, to keep abreast as a practitioner. Because as a practitioner, all of us as finance professionals and practitioners, I call myself a risk practitioner, I call myself a
Hmm.
compliance practitioner, all of us are no different from doctors, right? Doctors also practice their
Yeah. Correct.
profession, lawyers also practice their profession. So continuously building knowledge, continuously seeking knowledge, and going
Hmm.
to the right source to get that
Hmm.
knowledge. In this case, CISI's portal, right, refresher portal, has a lot of content to
Yeah.
consume.
Correct.
So it all need not be taken
Yeah.
in the form of an exam, a 2 hour exam. There could be content which can be consumed
Yeah.
even without an
Yeah.
exam, refresher being a case in point, right? But you are
Yes.
able to constantly build knowledge. Exam is a way of testing the knowledge, but not necessarily building on top of
Correct.
that, right? So you can always consume content to
Correct.
build on the knowledge that you already have, or that you wish to seek from new
Hmm.
dimensions. CISI plays a fabulous role in that,
Okay.
honestly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So there's this one question from one of our viewers here. He asked that one of his friends is in a top investment banking sector, and he wants to ask whether they have a mandatory shift. Is it do you have any shift that it is very practically important to work in, suppose day night or whatever?
So I have so many colleagues and friends of mine who have or are working at large investment banks on a shift
Hmm.
basis. It depends on the country and their respective time zone they are servicing. For
Yeah.
example, Barclays.
Mm.
Barclays typically operates,
Hmm.
or the Barclays India Development Center, which is in Chennai, typically operates and aligns itself to the UK time zone, because predominantly many of the operational
Hmm.
staff, people who perform reconciliation services, people who perform
Yeah.
operation services on trade settlement, typically
Hmm.
align their time to the UK shift, which is pretty much from 12:30 to evening
Okay.
8:30. There are some banks
Okay.
that operate 24 by 7, including Barclays. So the employees will,
Hmm.
depending on
Hmm.
the division in which they join and depending on the division which services
Yeah.
the region which is the reporting headquarters, right? Suppose
Mhm.
you are doing financial
Okay.
reporting and financial operations for the Americas, usually you are
Hmm.
expected to work in the US time zone. You may want to call it the
Okay.
graveyard shift in India. If you are looking at,
Okay.
the Middle East, if you're working for a bank, if it could be
Hmm.
a Goldman Sachs catering to the Middle East operations, then it is all
Hmm.
the more not that just 1.5 hours behind us, right? So you work predominantly in
Yeah.
the India time zone. But if
Okay.
for example, if you're catering to Asia Pacific, including Japan, APJ,
Hmm.
then your working hours are pretty long because you start when Singapore,
Yeah.
Malaysia starts, which is 2.5 hours
Hmm.
before your time, right? I mean, they are 2.5 hours
Okay.
ahead. So you got to start 2.5 hours before. And then you
Yeah.
end in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. So your day coverage is far longer. It again depends on the
Okay.
role. It's a timing is a function of the role and the region that you're actually
Hmm.
servicing sitting in India.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, now I have a question to Jasneet, sir. Another viewer is having a doubt of asking whether the placement would be provided by CISI or would CISI help in getting placements to the people who are doing the certification. Hello, am I audible, Jasneet, sir? Hello.
Jasneet, you're on
I
mute.
think there is some disturbance.
No, Jasneet is
Hello.
on mute. He has to unmute.
Jasneet, sir,
Yeah,
please unmute
sorry.
yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Okay, okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Yes, 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 I can.
sorry, I went on mute. Yeah, so
No problem, sir.
your question is on how does CISI qualifications help in placements, right?
Yes,
Right. So Yash, as I
yes, sir.
explained, as I explained to you sometime back that I'll explain about the model that we're working with some universities in India. Okay. In 2014-13, around
Hmm.
that time, a lot of these banks, which Sriram just mentioned about,
Hmm.
were having an issue with capacity building. That means they
Hmm.
were getting students from colleges, but they had to train them. And, they had to
Hmm.
train them for about 8 to 9 months.
Okay, yeah.
They had to train them on
Hmm.
on aspects which was not covered in the regular curriculum of you know the Indian education system. So they are the ones who actually got back to us
Hmm.
saying that we are any which ways hiring from colleges and we are hiring students. Now, can you reach
Hmm.
out to these campuses where we hire
Hmm.
from and offer your curriculum? And we
Hmm.
would look at these students. I mean, there is no guarantee placement as such,
Hmm.
but there is something called as an
Hmm.
edge over the others. They said we'll give
Yeah,
an edge to
correct,
these students
correct.
who are coming with the CSI content and qualification. Now, why is this edge given? It's
Hmm.
pretty simple and straightforward. Now, if I have a candidate who is a ready potential, a ready
Hmm.
talent pool, who can understand my process much
Yeah,
faster because he's already studied about it in his college and in his learning days.
yeah,
Uh, so, for example, someone who has not got the knowledge of, let's say, the IB op or the ITS industry, on an
yeah,
average, will take about 6 to 9 months to understand the industry itself, as
yeah.
compared
Then
to
it gets a
someone
bit, yeah.
who learned about the industry perhaps can go
Hmm.
and start working after 2 or 3 months of training. So, you're saving on the training cost. You're going to have
Hmm.
someone who will be job ready at a much faster pace. And at the same time,
Yes,
the candidate will stay with you for a longer time because he understands the process much faster and much better,
yes.
right? So, to answer your question
Yeah.
in a nutshell, there is an edge, there is an advantage for someone who does these
Hmm.
qualifications. And in fact, we are working with a lot of corporates and campuses where
Hmm.
we are facilitating placements. In fact,
Hmm.
towards the end of the discussion, I have one of my alumni, who can share her experience as to how the qualification she has taken has helped her to get into one of the biggest
Okay,
investment banks in the world. So,
okay,
probably
great,
let's do the talking later
great.
about it.
Yeah. So now, as I am interested in CISI, I'm sure a lot of people would be, and thus we come to the next question. Does CISI provide study material, training, and mock papers to prepare for examination? And a little more about CISI exams, like the difficulty level, and what is the passing percentage required?
Right. So basically, we have got various exams, right? Which I mentioned that the operations exams are different, the middle office exams are different. but all our examination at the level 3. Now, level 3 is a level that has been given to us by the, the regulator of education in the UK called as Ofcom, right? Now, our
Okay.
examinations at level 3, all of them are computer based tested. That means that you have to
Mm-hmm.
go to a center. In our case, we work with Prometric.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to a Prometric test center.
Okay.
Most of the
Mm.
examinations are either 50 questions or 100 questions, right? They're all
Okay.
multiple choice questions, right? You have four options
Mm.
and you have to choose the right answer, right? There's no
Yeah.
negative marking, and the passing is 70% for most of our exams, right? So, for
Okay.
example,
Okay.
it's a straightforward calculation. If there are 50 questions, then 35 is passing,
Mm.
and if there are 100 questions, then 70 is passing. We do provide the study material, which is
Mm-hmm.
a PDF format. We also provide the candidates with workbooks,
Yeah.
e-learning. We provide them with sample questions.
Okay.
So all these additional
Okay.
learning support is offered to the candidates when they register for a particular exam.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So again, now as India is a diverse nation with a lot of communities and with a lot of languages, the question is English speaking ability mandatory for this exam? And Sriram sir and Jasmeet sir can also answer this. Which knowledge, if we have a knowledge of foreign language, then does it add value in the IB rule?
So I'll just answer on the English language question first, and then perhaps on the foreign
Yeah,
language, Sriram can
yeah.
take it on. Yes, I mean the question papers that we have are in English. The study material that we have is in English.
Okay.
Understanding of the English language is essential and important. So yeah, so one needs to be
Hmm.
be able to read and write in English
Proficient
for.
in English.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I have
And
taken all
Sriram
my
sir?
certifications in English. So I think English is the language of
Yeah.
business. And even if you are working
Yeah.
for a French bank, it could be a BNP Paribas. Even if you're
Hmm.
working for a Russian bank, or even if you're working for an American bank like a JP
Hmm.
Morgan, I think English is the language of business. And usually people across the globe are fairly conversant uh, with English. I
Hmm.
know friends of mine who are working for Nomura
Hmm.
in Mumbai, uh, and Nomura is a Japanese bank. It's a Japanese investment bank, right?
Yeah.
And
Banking
even
fund.
there, I mean,
Hmm.
Japanese, though in their country, are not very fluent in English. For them, Japanese is primary fluency, but they also kind of cope up
Hmm.
because of their global operations and diverse customer base,
Hmm.
and they also cope up
Hmm.
and try to somehow converse in
Hmm.
English. But if somebody is, it's a personal choice. If
Hmm.
somebody is inclined to study a foreign language, be it French, German, Italian, or Japanese, it helps. It
Hmm.
helps for you to relocate globally into that country if you want
Hmm.
to really build a career in those countries within the
Hmm.
bank. If you look at inward mobility, or if you're looking at
Hmm.
opportunities outside of your current employer, picking up a foreign language does
Hmm.
help. But that has got nothing to do with
Okay.
CISI exams, or just because you know Japanese, you're not going to score 10 marks more, or just because Arabic, you're not going to
Okay.
score
Yeah.
10 marks more. So it's got nothing. It's very agnostic to the CISI qualifications, because these are
Okay.
global qualifications,
Yeah.
globally accredited qualifications, and are usually tested and proctored in English.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. And now moving on to the next question. This comes from a viewer again. People want to know what the pay package would be in investment banking operations. How good would you be able to earn working in investment banking?
Right. I mean, it's a no-brainer that the financial services sector, even in India, fairly represents what's happening across the globe. It is a lucrative career, but depends on what role, depends on the experience that you come from, and depends on the skills
Hmm.
that you have. A front office
Okay.
trading, sales and trading role will obviously result in higher compensation, but the compensation will include a larger variable element because it is sales and trading, right? As so
Yes,
what you
correct.
see on paper may not be what you get to your bank account. Okay, so that's typical for any sales business
Okay.
development role that has a variable component. If you look at the operational roles, those roles are typically
Hmm.
fixed and variable, where the variable portion is low, the fixed
Hmm.
portion is usually the majority
Hmm.
of the compensation, and those
Hmm.
compensations are definitely in line or above line with markets. I'm talking about the
Hmm.
multinational investment banks who have their operations, who have the
Hmm.
technology and operations set up in India. And
Hmm.
the pay is definitely
Hmm.
good, and the working hours are long, commensurate with the pay.
Hmm.
So but again, there is no
Hmm.
one size fits all. What usually hiring managers and talent
Hmm.
acquisition leaders do is, there is always a band, a
Hmm.
pay band, that is associated with your career band or with your
Okay.
role band, right? And there's obviously a
Yeah, correct.
variation of they would want to normalize as much as possible,
Yeah.
but there is usually a variation of 10 to 20%, even within the band, because somebody probably comes with a certain additional skill set, maybe in computer science, in
Hmm.
software, in
Correct.
coding, or maybe a foreign language, wherein
Correct.
you have to
Correct.
probably work with a Japanese customer, and you probably know Japanese. That's where that language could pay a premium. I'm not saying it will pay a premium, but it could probably help you get a premium. But from a qualifications perspective,
Okay.
I think CISI
Hmm.
candidates, as far as I know, are always on
Hmm.
the middle to upper quadrant of pay packets for a particular role within the bank. It is not that somebody is going to
Okay.
be paid subpar compared to another qualification for that
Hmm.
particular role. So the hiring manager typically has a budget for a particular
Hmm.
role, and when he or she looks for a candidate who
Hmm.
fits the bill for that particular role, will
Hmm.
probably evaluate candidates who are
Hmm.
CISI qualified, who are ACCA, who are chartered
Hmm.
accountants, who are MBAs with
Hmm.
additional qualifications. It could be a CA CISI, an MBA CISI. So usually the range, if you look at the spectrum within that role, the budgets can go plus or
Hmm.
minus 20%. It can't be that for the same role, a person is drawing, say, Indian
Okay.
rupee 7 lakh, and somebody else is drawing for the same role Indian rupee 17
Hmm.
lakhs. The variation is not that wild. The variation could be mild.
Okay. 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 Okay.
And
So
Yash, can I
even
just
if you
add
give
to
an
that?
aggregate figure, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. Sure.
Yash,
Sure.
sure. Also, one thing, so I've been working with CISI
Hmm.
for 8 years now. There are few clients, without
Hmm.
naming, these are
Hmm.
international investment banks. When they hire
Hmm.
a CISI candidate joins them.
Hmm.
So bonus which is given to the candidate. They also give
Hmm.
them a retaining bonus after 12 months, right? And in some
Okay.
cases, the designation to a CISI candidate is offered at a higher level. I'm talking about some of the investment banks that we have in India, right? So there is obviously
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
differentiation is there, which some of the banks have recognized. They understand the value of the qualification. They understand the hard work a candidate has put in, and they understand that this particular candidate
Yeah.
will fit the bill, which Sriram just mentioned about. So
Yeah.
they tend to reward them also when they come on board. And we see that pattern changing now, where
Okay.
we'll have a lot of other firms also rewarding a candidate who comes with a qualification which is directly relevant to the job role. And I'm not talking only about CISI,
Okay.
but any qualification that is relevant to your job role will automatically grab
Hmm.
eyeballs with your prospective employers.
Hmm.
So I thought I'll just add
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you so much. Sir, now we would take a moment to introduce and welcome our guest for today, Mr. Kevin Moore, the Global Director in CISI. He's in this and he is viewing this currently. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Kevin, sir.
Hello.
Okay, now we have a question. Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So now we have a question from one of our viewers, sir. Now, I think right now there is a lot of upheaval in the current environment, and this question is particularly for political differences. Say there's a difference in the political environment in India. So how does it affect investment bankers? Now, this question would be to Sriram sir and Kevin sir as well because he has a global experience in this.
Sorry, the question is what impact will political differences have on investment banks?
Yes, yes.
Well, I mean, obviously, if there are extreme differences, that can make that could have a business impact. So like the relationship between the US and China, which fluctuates,
Yeah,
and
correct.
can end up ultimately in sanctions and things like that. That obviously have
Yeah.
an impact. Otherwise, I think my experience is that business generally finds a way to operate,
Yeah.
most circumstances. So I would hope there wouldn't be anything, there's enough disruption with COVID-19 without politics also causing disruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So to add on to
Correct.
what Kevin said and to allude to his point, I think politics drives economics and regulations, and India is no exception. Uh, Economics is
Mhm.
usually under the garb of politics. Therefore, it has the policy measures that RBI takes, the policy initiatives that the SEBI, the Securities and Exchange Commission,
Yeah.
takes for a particular region is dependent on the at that point in time, the political climate, the socio-economic climate. So there's a lot of
Mm.
consideration weightage given from the political quarters. Now what that usually happens is that if it leads to new policy making, that could have ramifications on either easing down the current regulatory environment or further strengthening the current regulatory regime. In the case of 2008, we saw severe tightening of regulatory regime globally with Sarbanes-Oxley, with all those Sarbanes-Oxley was even earlier when the Enron thing happened, right? So you see
Yeah.
a lot of regulatory tightening and scrutiny uh, immediately after
Mhm.
a scam or immediately after a recession
Mhm.
or, God forbid, a depression. But when things begin
Yeah.
to ease, when people actually forget the past, which is
Mm.
probably good in some ways and probably not so good, then the climate, the policy making climate usually tends towards easing those regulations, making it more business friendly, making it more
Mm.
competitive, and the single monetary authority of a particular country, of a particular nation, along with the
Mm.
securities and capital markets regulator for that nation, more often than not will have to align towards that shift and play and straddle between the policy makers and the politics
Mm.
to really come up with a very divisive
Mm.
plan that works in the best interest of the regulators, the businesses operating in that regime, and obviously politicians. So in short,
Yes.
yes, politics does play quite a bit of direction in policy
Mm.
setting and regulatory
Mm.
regime.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So now adding on to this, right now we have the COVID-19 pandemic going, and the question is related to this. What is the future of investment banking in India according to you and according to Kevin, sir, regarding CISI?
Right. I think from an industry perspective,
Mm.
I can share my 2 cents. I think
Yeah.
COVID-19, though it's a global pandemic where we have so many experts on from the University of WhatsApp, pun intended there. But I think it has
Yeah.
reset. To be truth be told, it has reset uh, a lot of policy making initiatives. It has reset
Mm.
new ways of working. It has
Yeah.
reset so many other aspects of society and the way we learn, the way we consume content, the way we interact, all of that, right? But I think
Yeah.
society as a whole and India as a country will emerge far more resilient, robust, and stronger from this pandemic. That's primarily because of some of the initiatives that our policy making bodies have taken, right? I mean, it is important for business
Mm.
bounce back. It is important for manufacturing to get back on its feet while the services regime continues, right? People working for
Yeah.
companies, technology companies like myself, can
Mm.
still work from home, work remotely, and deliver
Yeah.
to client's mandate. I mean, it's just a piece of code,
Yeah.
reviewing that code, deploying the code on a server, productionizing, testing it, and
Yeah.
productionizing it. I can do that sitting at probably anywhere where I have a decent bandwidth. But if I were to brush my teeth, I would
Yeah.
physically need a toothpaste. I would need a toothbrush. I would need
Correct.
a coffee maker. I would need my dress. I would need. There's
Yeah.
so many physical, I would need a bag. All those
Correct.
are physical
Correct.
manufacturing intensive industries which people consume on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
That labor force, that
Yeah.
workforce, that supervisorial force, that managerial force, that leadership force
Mm-hmm.
has to come back on the ground to manufacture for
Mm-hmm.
us and for us to consume. Now, where that is going to be
Yeah.
manufactured is a different question, because we know that global supply chain
Mm-hmm.
was actually tilted towards China, a few countries, more importantly China.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is going
Yes.
to be reset, because you can't have too many constraints locked in one particular area or one particular geography. That needs
Correct.
to be
Correct.
debottlenecked. So you will see India as a close competitor to China, wherein the and our clearly our prime
Mm-hmm.
minister and finance minister have been allocating a lot of capital,
Mm-hmm.
have been allocating a lot of funds through
Mm-hmm.
policy initiatives, through policy regimes that will bolster manufacturing from this region. I'm not saying we're going to be China tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I think that directionally we are thinking in that sense, because that is what
Yeah.
can
We are
bring
on the
back
path.
jobs, that is what can bring back employment.
Yeah.
And I'm sure UK is no different as well. And I'm sure Kevin has can add a lot more perspective to that from his region. But I hope I was
Mm-hmm.
able to convey how India is actually handling it, and from a jobs perspective, yes, it
Yes.
will
Yes.
create new jobs, but also not in the same size, shape, and form that we
Mm-hmm.
have seen. Who thought all of us could work from home 14 hours and we
Mm-hmm.
can still maintain our sanity to the best
Mm-hmm.
extent possible,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Correct. So now the question is to Jasneet sir. Is there any activities performed by you or which can be performed by us students in this pandemic, because we've got a lot of time in our hand? And what would be your recommendations to upskill ourselves and keep us involved in something?
Right. Thanks, Yash. The good thing is that in the last couple of months, since we had the lockdown, CSI is something
Yeah.
called continuous professional development, which is a membership, right? And one of the
Yeah.
tools
Correct.
and offerings of membership is we have something called as professional refresher, which very briefly Sriram was talking about, which are like quick bite-sized learning,
Hmm.
which you can do sitting
Yeah.
at home. You don't have to go to a test center for that. You can sit on your
Yeah.
laptop. It's very interesting. We have
Hmm.
videos going on. In fact, yeah, I can show you on the screen itself. We have got more than
Yeah.
one.
Sure. Sure.
So we have more than 150 topics to choose from, right? And the topics range from topics like AML,
Okay.
chain, fintech. We have something on cryptocurrencies.
Hmm.
We have data science, data analysis, a
Yeah.
whole lot of topics, right? So these are all the topics that you can see on your
Yeah.
screen.
Correct.
So this, every topic comes with timeline. That
Wow.
means
There are a lot
some
of
can be
topics
done,
here.
yeah, some can be done in 45 minutes, some can be done in 2 hours. And this is something which you read through it, right? It's for about a simple test of
Hmm.
about 15 or 20 questions, depending on the module that you choose. And once you complete the module, that means you have to
Okay.
score 80%. You get a proper certificate
Hmm.
out of. If I can request to open just any one of the topics over here, let's say,
Yeah. Just a second.
right. Yeah. So just to give you an example, this is how it looks like. You'll have about 5 to 6
Okay.
various topics that you have to read through it, right? And that's followed by, after you're done with the reading,
Okay.
followed by something called as a module test,
Yeah.
right? And once you submit the module test after taking the
Okay.
exam,
Okay.
you get a proper certificate for it with your name, and it also says which
Okay.
module completed on what
Okay.
particular date. So recently, you must have seen a lot of
Okay.
candidates, practitioners putting in their certificates on LinkedIn, right? So similarly, this is how the certificate looks
Yes.
like.
Yes. I have.
So let's say, Yash, you have done a
Okay.
refresher course on artificial intelligence (AI). It will show that Yash has completed a CSI professional refresher on artificial
Okay.
intelligence. So this, will not involve a lot of
Oh. Okay.
time. You can do it in a day's time, and we have
Hmm.
individual subscription. We have
Hmm.
something called an affiliate membership that we can offer to the candidates,
Hmm.
and we have 150 topics to choose from,
Hmm.
and these are real time again,
Hmm.
and updated every couple of months. So it's something which looking at the current
Hmm.
situation where students are looking for a lot of learning, basically, So this can help them
Mm.
prepare themselves for their
Yeah, correct.
future jobs and future. It can help them
Correct.
upskill themselves in the current situation.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so thank you for that question, sir. So there is a continuation of this. Now, as we had earlier spoken about different places in the investment banking, the back office role, the front office role, and the top level role. Now, so there's this question: are there any opportunities for mid and back office candidates to move into the front office role? Are there any certification provided by CISI to upskill themselves and then get that role, or what experience is needed?
To take this question, seeing from my own experience of interacting with a lot of clients, when they take up something
Okay.
which is back office dominant, like an IOC, investment operations certificate, they
Mm,
start from the back office.
mm,
They spend a couple of years, doing a back office, a role, and then slowly, we see them after a couple
yeah.
of years. I've seen some candidates who have taken the risk examination from CISI, moved to the middle office. Some have taken
Mm,
compliance exam, moved to the middle office. I've also seen some candidates who have taken a corporate finance or a wealth management exam and have made a shift from back office directly to the front
mm,
office job roles. Again, I think it depends on the candidate,
okay.
which area, which domain of a particular
Mm,
organization they want to be a part of. There's no stopping from our end because we offer
mm.
you front office, middle office, and back office related qualifications.
Use process.
But to answer your question in a
Mm,
nutshell, yes, if you've taken something on a back office like an IOC, investment operations
mm,
certificate, a couple of years
mm.
down, you can move to the front office as well by taking up some front office relevant qualification from CISI.
Okay. Okay. So the growth is has no limits there. So
Yeah.
now I have a question related to the future tech, and that is why I request Sriram sir to answer this. Could you please give your opinion about artificial intelligence in investment banking operations, and what would the scenario look like? Like, would AI result in job cuts for the IB industry, or what does it look like in general?
Sure, I think I've been asked this question a couple of times, and I mean, I remember when computers were introduced those days, people thought that they would lose their jobs. Computers have been introduced at the risk of their jobs, and clearly we know that
Yeah.
it has created 20x, 30x, 50x more jobs globally. So
Correct.
AI, so even the word AI as artificial intelligence is getting
Hmm.
rehashed. It's being called augmented intelligence globally now. Many of the
Okay.
companies
Okay.
are actually rethinking that word because uh,
Hmm.
while it started off as artificial intelligence, clearly we know that
Hmm.
as we see more and more use cases that come out of technology
Hmm.
shops, as we see the
Hmm.
interplay between human cognition and artificial intelligence,
Hmm.
we see that
Hmm.
it can be augmented intelligence. Therefore, uh,
Yeah.
there might be a need for people to be reskilled or retooled, uh, but without which
Hmm.
it could be challenging times. The bots are here is a very famous adage that we get to hear often, but I am seeing it as a glass half full rather than a glass
Hmm.
half empty, because that's an opportunity
Hmm.
for you to actually pick up new skills,
Hmm.
look at new ways of working. Clearly, very much
Hmm.
similar to what COVID-19 has taught all of us, right? We have picked up new skills. Who thought 100 people could assemble
Yeah.
on a
Correct.
video conference for 1 hour and still be more effective in their meetings?
Yeah.
Who
Correct.
thought we could really, we need not have 20-minute coffee breaks, but we could do with 5-minute coffee breaks? So it's all newer ways of working, and it will
Hmm.
have its effect. There are both pros and cons of that, and I'm sure societies
Hmm.
will have to readjust. There are tax implications. You cannot charge bot a
Hmm.
tax for the work that it does. You charge,
Yeah.
employees pay tax from their payroll to the government. So there is a problem on the government side
Correct.
as to how they would want to really use
Hmm.
labor arbitrage and tax labor arbitrage. But truth being told,
Hmm.
it is probably a clarion call to all the workforce, including us. Many of the repetitive jobs
Hmm.
could come under
Hmm.
the hammer of AI, and therefore, people who are
Hmm.
working in repetitive
Hmm.
jobs, in mundane jobs, in heavy duty transaction processing, will have
Hmm.
to pick up those necessary
Hmm.
skills for reskilling and
Hmm.
retooling and gravitate upwards to more
Hmm.
meaningful contributions within their role, or even see a role expansion, right?
Hmm.
You wouldn't want to be caught off
Mm-hmm.
guard by a bot and being
Yeah.
told by a manager that, hey, we don't need you, thanks but no thanks, but we are
Mm.
replacing you with a bot, or we are replacing you with a
Yeah.
kiosk, or we are replacing you with a robo. And that will happen. But when you look at it from a systemic issue, I still think there is enough headroom for creating jobs, enough headroom for augmented
Mm.
intelligence to really pave its way out and play off, and also
Mm.
increased productivity, right? I mean, it's all about productivity. And why would
Yeah,
you
correct.
actually want to do
Correct.
something as a human being when and if a
Mm.
machine can increase its productivity by 25, 30%?
Mm.
You ideally want to be
Correct.
resilient and robust in from a career point of view, which is actually a marathon of 35,
Mm.
40, 45 years, and not a sprint or a 100-meter dash for 2, 5 years.
Mm.
You really want to be there for the long haul and don't
Yes.
want to be caught on the wrong end, right? So it is in
Mm.
your own interest that you want to pick up those
Yeah,
skills that
correct.
will put you on a path of progress for the long haul.
Yeah, correct. Correct. Thank you so much, Sriram sir, for this. The next question, sir, I would like Kevin sir to answer this because I think he would have a great idea about this. So, in the current scenario, we have the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns all over the world. Is there any global hiring opportunities with related to CISI specifically after this all gets over?
Well, I'm glad you added after this all gets
Hello,
over,
Kevin
because
sir?
oh, can you hang on? Can you not hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
It should work. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's that much hiring going on at the moment. There are some. We're only talking about it today, but they're
Hmm.
fairly isolated examples. I mean, we obviously
Yeah.
have a reach all over the world, but I think most people are hunkering down at the moment and just trying to hang on. And at the end of this, I suspect businesses will reorganize.
Yes.
And reorganizations in businesses
Yeah.
are bad news for some people and opportunities for others. So that's a bit of a bland answer, but I don't think anyone really knows. I mean, we've talked about the impact of technology. I've heard some of the big banks in London saying that they've now realized they don't necessarily need these big offices in Canary Wharf anymore. That people have adapted pretty successfully to working remotely. Will that have implications for the numbers of people? I don't know. I think I just agree with the point that was made earlier on by Saram that there's just going to be a lot of change. Someone at a meeting I was at a few minutes ago said it's like 5 or 10 years change has happened in 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay.
And I think that was about education in the UK, but I think it probably applies to pretty much everything.
Okay. Okay.
That's as good as an answer as I've got.
So there is a little disturbance in your voice. I can't hear you.
Okay, hang on.
Okay.
It looks
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
So now I would like to thank Sriram sir for attending this webinar. He has a few meetings lined up after this and he had to leave. So thank you, sir, for taking your time off and sharing all this information with us. You have really helped a lot of people over here get the right guidance. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Jasneet and Kevin as always. It's such a pleasure to see Kevin back from London. So, and it's a
From my
pleasure to
home in
see.
UK.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes. All of us are working from home, and
I know.
it's the new normal.
We're all seeing everybody's brooms, aren't we? And at the back behind everybody.
Yes, yes.
We're just about to introduce this morning. Our chief executive Simon has now got a CISI background. An official CISI background,
Right.
and he was saying he wants us all to start using it.
Okay.
I think that's a pity. I've actually enjoyed seeing sort of a little glance into people's homes over the last few weeks. So it'll be a pity, but again, it's businesses changing to new circumstances, recognizing this is what we're going to be doing for some time, I think.
And that's why, interestingly, on that same note, Kevin, the Zoom also offers a feature of changing your background.
Yeah.
You could actually work as if you're working from, say, probably Canada or San Francisco or from a discotheque or whatever, right? Just a little joys of life to make your work appear more interesting.
Absolutely, yes.
Than it actually is. Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Yash, and
Thank
thanks to the ACBM and CISI India team. You guys, as always, put up a great show, even though it's virtual, and really had the pleasure of
Okay.
sharing some of tidbits that I wanted to share with young, bright, aspiring minds. Thank you, and good luck to all of you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay. Okay. So there is a question to just Jasneet sir and Kevin sir. Is there any kind of tips that you would want to add to this? Any kind of reviews or remarks to this entire situation?
Well, if I may just go first, I was a student not too long back. I completed my post graduation in 2009-10. I think
Yeah.
one thing is for sure, it is a time to learn a lot, especially for student population. In fact, we working in industry are also learning something which is new coming up every day. I think it's a great time to
Hmm.
upskill yourself and to keep reading a lot because we are not sure when the situation might improve. But one thing is for sure, when the situation does improve, there will be a lot of hiring. There, people would want to get back with a vigor, get on board. So, and
Hmm.
when that happens, I think all the prospective potential students should be
Hmm.
well. And like I said, it's a race to the finish, and may the best man and women win. So, it's a best time to
Yeah.
study and prepare yourself and upskill yourself.
Yeah.
That would be my quick suggestion.
Yeah, if you can hear me, I
Okay.
think.
Thank you. And what about you, Kevin sir?
Yeah, well, can you hear me? Is it working now? I'm never sure from this end, but what I would add to,
Yes. Yes. It is. It just has a bit of delay, but it is working.
okay, well, I'm far further away than all of you guys. The I'd only add to what Jasneet said, really, that in my banking career before I joined CISI and even at CISI, when we're recruiting people, I want to see energy, initiative, ideas, enthusiasm, and if I was asking somebody at the moment, in a few months' time, so what did you do, during the crisis? And someone says, well, actually, yes, I did some of the
Hmm.
CISI professional refreshers, but
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
use the time constructively. That's going to be
Hmm.
impressive. If someone says, well, actually, I was really good on PlayStation, I absolutely killed it. I've become Call of Duty world champ. Well, actually, you could make money doing that,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. If you've used the time to just relax and and slow down, well, that's not going to be as impressive as somebody who's really used the time. Maybe even volunteer. I mean, I don't know what opportunities exist in India, but in the
Yeah.
UK there are sort of volunteering type opportunities that young people in particular, because they tend to be more
Yeah.
resistant to COVID, have been able to show that they've got a bit of public spirit as well. So it's yes, it's about getting
Yeah.
your technical knowledge better, but also I think demonstrating your character, your energy, your commitment, your ideas, because those are what employers want.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct, correct. Thank you so much, sir, for that question, that answer. And now this is the last question of the session. I would like to ask Jasneet, sir, is there any global hiring opportunities with related to CISI, and would you want to share someone who would represent this scenario?
Sure. If we could have one of our alumni, Garima, if you can allow her to speak her experience, because it's always better to
Sure,
hear
sure, sure.
from themselves. So she can just talk about it in another maybe 30 seconds. So if Garima is there,
Sure, sir.
Yeah, I'm there. Am I audible?
yeah.
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, great. Hi. So I completed the investment operations certificate not too long ago. So I was doing my Bachelor of Commerce, and I took up
Hmm.
CISI IOC in my second year of college, and that was a time when I was still
Hmm.
very confused about financial concepts. So, like just needs some mention,
Hmm.
CISI, because it's written by industry professionals, so it's a lot more insightful than
Hmm.
university curriculums, and it helps you gain a lot
Hmm.
more real time knowledge. And so when I was in my final year of college, CISI, I went for a job interview with the JP
Hmm.
Morgan, and being a fresher, I had no idea what to expect, but I had completed my
Hmm.
IOC by that time. So I went into the interview not knowing
Okay.
what to expect, but as soon as the interviewer saw a CISI qualification on my
Hmm.
resume, we instantly connected, and he
Hmm.
based all his questions from the CISI curriculum, And I genuinely think
Hmm.
that's how I was
Hmm.
able to get a foot in the door and uh, be be able to ace that interview. So besides obviously being very
Hmm.
helpful in helping me secure a job, uh, once you complete your IOC, you're
Hmm.
also a designated member of CISI, which the designation is called ACSI Associate Member. And
Okay.
along with that membership, you get CPD benefits, professional refresher courses, which I've already seen. And I think for me, the biggest
Okay.
attraction of it was being able to write ACSI after my name as a designation, which looks
Okay.
really cool and is a
Yes.
huge motivation. So my
Yeah.
experience with CSI has been great.
Okay. Thank you, Garima.
Thank you.
Anything Jasneet sir would like to add on to this?
No, I think she's spoken because it's always best to hear from the people who have taken the exam themselves with their experience.
Yes, correct, correct.
Just want to highlight that Garima is from Christ University in Bangalore, where a lot of
Okay,
students
okay.
enroll for these exams. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in a way that now she's a member also. So in the current situation, she can
Hmm.
also do all the learnings and CPD in the meanwhile, which she has an
Yeah,
access to a lot of online material which she can access from. So that in a
yeah,
way also helps you, when you want to upskill yourself. So yeah.
yeah, correct, correct. Thank you so much, sir. And with this, we have come to the end of our session. I thank the experts for sharing all their opinions and knowledge with our viewers. You have truly changed many of their lives by giving the right guidance at the right time. It is said that education is the passport for the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. With that, I would like to bid a goodbye to everyone. And I would like to personally thank Kevin sir for joining us right straight from London. I would like to thank Jasneet sir, Sriram sir, and Garima for sharing her experience. We have the next webinar tomorrow in which we would welcome Mr. Saad Manyar sir. He is a senior partner at Crow UAE and the chairman of ACCA's member of advisory committee. Now, and if you've missed any part of this webinar, then just subscribe to this channel below and we would bring you the entire webinar on the YouTube channel along with a lot of more useful content. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Have a good night and stay safe.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Yash, and thank you,
Thank you.
ACBM.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.